Hey, it's Braulio Rosa, and I'm here with the Broward Bar Buzz. I'm here with Debbie Klauber, who is the Haliczer Pettis Schwamm partner that handles appeals, research, and kind of guru of all the extra stuff that your firm needs, correct?
The when we don't know what we're doing, kind of, let's call Debbie.
Exactly. Welcome
It
back.
happens sometimes. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. I know we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, and that's kind of been a hot topic, not only everywhere, but especially in the legal community now. So I know you handle a lot of research, and so can you talk a little bit about how artificial intelligence would impact just first the general practice of law, your thoughts on that?
Sure. So you're right. This is the hot topic. Everyone seems to be talking about how it will impact us, and I think we're really just on the cutting edge of it. You know, it's hard even for us to fathom where this will go. But there are concerns because of what these, robots can do, how quickly they can get through the information that for decades and centuries, really, we've had people having to dig through data to find the answers. And now the answer comes faster at your fingertips with just the question, the stroke of a key, and all of those things. So I think it will impact the practice of law, but certainly you can't, take away the human element that is a lawyer that you can confide in and talk to about your case and explain what's happened to you and to help you get to a solution.
So I know we watch all these movies and they've got robots that are, like artificial intelligence, right? So if lawyers can't be replaced, well, let me rewind. Couldn't we teach maybe empathy and sympathy to these artificial intelligence?
So far, they tell us no.
Okay.
I've seen a couple of articles, and that's one of the things that a chat GPT or, a bot will tell you is, I'm going to go look for the answer to the question. I'm going to get through the data. I will decipher it, and I will spit out a response. But I don't care what the response is. I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's wrong. And I don't have any feelings about it whatsoever. So far, they say I'm not capable of that. Whether that will happen in the future, I wouldn't have imagined us here. So I guess that's a possibility. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope empathy remains ours as humans and as lawyers to be creative and understanding of what our clients are going through. But at this stage anyway, that's not a concern.
So I could imagine having a client that comes to you for some kind of medical malpractice, something terrible has happened to them. And of course, you have that natural human empathy for them because you see them struggling. How would you use artificial intelligence to help you with that? And then how can't it? And I know we've kind of already touched on it. So
I think that's the answer. I think the answer is we need to learn how to harness this intelligence and use it to our advantage and to our client's advantage, while at the same time keeping the human element and having the value of a human. The getting through the information faster is fantastic. Instead of having a young associate who at an hourly rate is combing through mountains and bankers' boxes, as probably dating myself even using that term. But this data that is the documents that you need to go through. In our case, is medical records, and you've got to go through medical records. The defense is going to want to go through all of the prior history, what that medical history looks like, and instead of having someone do it, we can have something do it faster, more accurate, and getting us the answers we need, while still maintaining the ability for us to look at the answer that comes out and understand why it makes a difference for our client. What the bot can't do is analyze it in the context of a specific case and a specific person, or how a jury might respond to that, and the human element that we hopefully still have and need.
So for now, we can use the bot, the artificial intelligence, to do a better job at researching and finding cases and information. But in the end, you still, as the lawyer, you need a quality lawyer to review that and really evaluate and bring that human element to it to really help you find a direction for your case.
I think that's true. I do a lot of research in my practice. That's mostly what my practice is. And I like research. But what I like more than the research is to analyze it as to my specific case, is to set up the outline of how I want to tell this story. Which part should I tell first? And you still need that. While I think that for legal research, finding the cases is one step. And I think these new robots can analyze it to some extent, but they can't analyze it in the way that a human can. They can't analyze it and get that judgment, that creativity, the adaptability, the concept of why it might matter to a judge that you talk about, the facts before the law or the law before the facts. And that's still important.
So we're always going to still need those top-level lawyers to handle these cases, but law firms may be looking now at perhaps less paralegals or associates because some of that work would be able to be handled by this artificial intelligence.
I think that's possible, and I think that's one of the concerns that people are talking about, right? What do you do? How do you teach a lower-level associate if they aren't needing to go through this information? So one of the things that maybe a young lawyer could do would be to be adept in these artificial intelligence to help the older generations who don't know how to use this information and get it quickly and faster. But the input you're going to get from those experienced lawyers, it's invaluable, and you can't match that with a robot.
And in terms of just finances for law firms, we were talking. So now suddenly you have less associates working on a case, so they're not doing those billable hours.
Right. But you don't need as many associates, so you don't have to pay as many salaries for the associates, right? So, I think it's going to unfold, and we're going to see how it works. I have confidence that the legal profession will continue, that we will still be able to provide guidance to our clients. But one of the things that this may help is to make, and I know you know this working with the bar and the community, this might make legal services more accessible to everybody. When you don't have to pay for a lawyer and you can get a form and you know that it's accurate, you still like to have a lawyer's eyes on it, someone who knows what they're doing to make sure that the bot hasn't come up or made something up that isn't accurate or true. But if we can get some parameters, right? So we can get some parameters on what information could be provided, legal information could be provided and used by a member of the public. It's got a lot of ramifications, the unauthorized practice of law, plagiarism, authenticity, all of those things are concerns. But if the information is there and it's more accessible and we've put the tools in place to make sure that it's accurate information, I think it can help a lot of people with access.
Well, you mentioned, I know we're going down a rabbit hole here, but you mentioned the unauthorized practice of law. And with artificial intelligence, I just see the evolution of the practice of law. I think you're always going to need lawyers. But I could see a time, like you're saying, where there might be areas, and I think California has dabbled with this already, where they have like a more advanced paralegal that can handle certain things, and there's forms that they're able to use. So maybe artificial intelligence would be part of that.
So forms, I think, are a big area where artificial intelligence can be helpful. Getting a form, but again, you can draft a form medical malpractice complaint that says the doctor had a duty, I was the patient, but it's generic. It doesn't have any feeling. It doesn't have any personal case-specific information in it. And while you can put facts and data in there, sometimes when you're drafting a complaint, you want the judge, the defendant, the insurance company to look at that complaint and feel what this patient was going through. And that's where the lawyers will come in.
I think that with medical malpractice, it's way too complicated for something like this. I would think maybe like basic divorces or...
Right. And a lot of those forms are out there and they are available. So this will just be, and then you're right, the unauthorized practice of law is a challenge. Are we letting robots practice law now? Is that really what we're doing? Which is why we have to get some kind of parameters on what those forms can be and how available they can be. And I think that the court system works on that. They do provide lots of forms for indigent clients and, indigent litigants so that they can get things done legally when they don't have the ability to do so with, their own counsel.
So what about the doctors? Are the doctors using artificial intelligence to help them diagnose or look at the possibilities of what's going on?
So we talk to experts every day. In every case we've got, before we're ever allowed to file a lawsuit, we are required to have experts involved to tell us that something went wrong and to tell us that it caused the injury or contributed to the injury that the patient or the plaintiff is now complaining of. And they are telling us very clearly that they are using AI. I'm sure there's some podcast going on right now with some doctor explaining how this is being utilized in the medical community, but it has incredible implications for all of us as patients, that our information can be deciphered in a way by a machine that will help us learn more about ourselves. I think that to me is more exciting than what we can do with it in the law. But it will certainly impact our medical malpractice cases, because we can go now and look across the country and find cases that have the same injury, cases that have the same diagnosis. We can find our own experts by looking at the medical literature and seeing who's doing studies on this particular medical problem, or who has studied it and who has reported on it, who wrote the last, JAMA article on this particular topic. And having that information at our fingertips it's incredible.
Yeah, I would think, and I don't know if it's there yet, but you could look and see, 80% of the time when someone is showing these kind of symptoms, this is what it was, and here's what this guy thought it was. He should have known better.
And hospitals have been using these, they're all electronic medical records now, right? And when you put in certain things into a hospital system and you say this patient has this blood pressure, this temperature, it automatically will pop up screens to you and say, oh, might it be this? You should check this. And that's just going to get better and better. It will just become more insightful as this intelligence makes links between things that perhaps people haven't been able to put together yet.
So that kind of makes me think about the ethics and concerns, things that we should be thinking about with artificial intelligence, because you're talking about patients and their information, that's protected anyhow.
Right.
But so talk a little bit about concerns for the legal side in terms of artificial intelligence.
There are a number of ethical concerns when it comes to this artificial intelligence. I think the first one is confidentiality. That's a great place to start. Once you put your client's information into ChatGPT, that's now part of the data that ChatGPT has access to. So if I have a ChatGPT account and I am putting in my patient's confidential medical information, my client's confidential medical information, that's a concern. And there are ways you can do it sort of offline and search your own database and protect your client's information, but that can be tied to my account with my ChatGPT and my law firm. So there is a way that information could be put together and a patient could be identified. So confidentiality is huge. Plagiarism is another one. You don't know where ChatGPT is getting the information. You might be using someone else's work product. Accuracy is a problem. Is it true? Is it real? Everybody's heard the story about that poor lawyer who wrote his motion with ChatGPT, and to make sure the cases were real, he asked ChatGPT, are these cases real? And ChatGPT said yes. So off he went with his motion to the court where the cases themselves were made up. Now, how that happened, I'm not really sure, and I haven't gone down that rabbit hole.
Wait, let me jump in. Something just hit me here. So artificial intelligence is basically information, gazillions of bytes of information that someone is loading into this software so that it can learn this stuff. I mean, there could be a possibility where someone maybe is being malicious and feeding misinformation.
That's just scary.
It just hit me.
That's just scary. You're right.
Because you're like, he came up with cases.
How do you know?
How the heck did he come up with these cases? Because they weren't cases.
Right.
Someone put in wrong information.
Right. Or it
purposely or not
put together the information in a way that wasn't accurate. And when you talk to these bots, they'll tell you that. I will give you a very confident wrong answer. Yeah. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I just know that's what I went to find.
I mean, we already see it's only going to learn and do what it's taught to do or whatever, with the software. Right. So we see malicious bots in a sense of putting misinformation out on the internet.
Right.
on X or
see it every day.
Twitter, formerly Twitter,
right.
and all these different social media sites, all this malicious stuff that goes out there.
People read it and they believe it because they read it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can imagine that there's got to be some kind of control. I would hope that whoever's controlling this artificial intelligence that's being used by lawyers,
right,
that there's a safety protocol on what's real information going in there.
Boy, do we hope. Boy, do we hope.
Because it's all based upon what's put in there. And if it's, bad info in, bad info out, or good info in.
And that's why I think these legal research companies are putting, tens and hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars into, mergers and acquisitions and gobbling up these little AI companies to be able to, have the information available, keep up with the technology that's outside of the legal field.
Sure.
And, ChatGPT does not have the benefit of Westlaw. Westlaw is not sharing its information, but at the same time, people are going to go one way to get the answer, if not the other. So they've got to keep up with what's going on outside of the legal field while maintaining accurate information so that what it comes up with is true and accurate and appropriate, what you're providing to a court or to the other side. And we as attorneys have the obligation of making sure that what we're saying is accurate.
One would hope, but you've got that attorney that didn't, so
that's right.
Maybe he's an outlier.
We hope.
Yeah, but that just really hit me. I'm thinking, goodness, they could put in misinformation
and
into
who
these.
does control this?
Who controls this information?
Yeah.
We're just assuming. It's just like, hey, Mr. Google, tell me this. And we just assume that it's correct.
Right.
But who's putting that information out there is so important.
And where you are and how you're searching it and how you ask the question. I mean, I think that's a place where, for me, when I think about a bot doing research, I think it's possible. But I've also spent 25 years fine-tuning how I ask my questions and getting to the right answer, sometimes starting with more specific research and then getting a little broader as I go once I realize I can't get the specific answer. That's something these bots perhaps can learn over time, but I don't think they're there yet.
Plus critical thinking, realizing, okay, this is what's coming. You're going to double check. You're going to make sure that this is correct.
Check.
Yeah. You're going to find real sources that are going to say, yep, that's it.
And that's the ethical concern. If we've got attorneys who aren't, they have an answer, they put their answer, they submit their answer to the other side. I could go through the bar rules. You have to have candor with the tribunal, candor with opposing counsel, all of these requirements on us as lawyers to be good people and do the right thing. And relying on a bot just doesn't mix. Unless you're doing the real work afterwards and making sure that it's accurate and true.
So doing appellate work is a lot of writing, correct?
It is. It is.
So I know you take great pride in the product that you put together. You mentioned plagiarism. Talk a little bit about that.
So, I think plagiarism probably will be seen the most with forms. But it also could be if you went on a ChatGPT and asked it a question and it had my brief, which answers your question, it might literally pull my work product that I created and have you using it. You're now submitting a document to a court that's been fully prepared by someone else and really maybe have no idea that that's what's going on. So doing your own research or clarifying that research remains important.
So what would be your advice to young lawyers out there actually that are coming into the field now with artificial intelligence to make themselves valuable?
Right. Well, I think there are two parts to that. I think the first thing would be that as law students or college students or law students, don't rely on this stuff. You've got to do your own work. You need to learn these concepts. You can't if ChatGPT can spout out your answer and give you the answer and you can turn in your homework project and get an A, that's great. But if you don't understand how it happened and why it worked that way or what the rules of civil procedure say, how can you go be an effective lawyer when you're out and you're done? But I do think it will be important for young lawyers to be able to utilize this technology to their benefit, to help their firms, to help their clients, because it's here. And I was at a lunch today, and they were talking about how interesting the legal profession in particular is. But this is happening, across every, sector of the work world. We've got so many generations in the workforce, right? We've got boomers, we've got Gen X, we've got Gen Z, we've got millennials, and these Gen Zs grew up with a phone in their hands.
Yep.
You know, the boomers did not.
No.
And they need to teach and, you know, make the workplace flow with this technology in a way that's understandable and usable by everybody. So that's how a young lawyer can really be valuable, is to see what the impact of this intelligence will be on the legal community and learn how to work with it and not against it, while maintaining, you know, those characteristics of judgment. Critical thinking was one you used. That's a great one. And empathy for your client and for their situation, because that's the invaluable piece that we provide as lawyers. At the end of the day, we can do research, but what we're doing is we're helping our clients.
Talking about clients, how do you assure your clients that AI is not going to take over being the lawyer for them, that you're going to be the lawyer and AI is going to be that tool that's going to help you perhaps be even better at representing them?
I think that we lawyers are probably more sensitive to this than a client will be. A client is still coming into the office and meeting a person. You know, what's going on behind the scenes isn't so much what the clients are concerned about. As long as they're having that personal contact, they're telling their story, you're understanding their story, you're preparing them for their testimony, they're really still getting that personal feel. And that's the, you know, the critical element that lawyers still have that will make this profession survive the craziness that is around.
It seems that often there's a loss of lawyer is also a counselor.
That's right.
Your counsel. And I remember as a kid hearing my parents on the occasion that they went to see a lawyer. It's like, oh, we need counsel from this lawyer. And I think that's often lost.
It's such a good word. And you know, there are lots of different areas of legal practice. And I remember when I went to law school as a business major, I really thought that going to law school was going to narrow my focus of what I might do. And it was entirely the opposite, of course, right? You know, even when you're dealing with a real estate contract, someone's buying a home, you know, it's a crucial skill, and the good lawyers are good counselors. That's what they are, and they understand that that's their job, that they're helping people.
It's probably the greatest investment that the average person is doing. If you don't have understanding that this person's putting themselves out there, that this is their life savings or this is their savings account for later, because they don't make that kind of money. That house is, all their money is going into that house.
You know, when something goes wrong in a case, and it's just a case, that's one thing, but that's something going wrong with someone's livelihood, someone's life, especially for what we do.
Yeah.
You know, malpractice is either I've been injured or my family member has been injured, and all of our lives have been impacted by it. And the counselor piece is a great example of what artificial intelligence cannot provide. They cannot counsel. And not in a way, even if it could give the advice and the advice was right, it can't do it in a warm and fuzzy way like a human can. And I think that being counselors at law is what these young lawyers should be focused on, because that's what will make the difference and make you stand out.
Good advice. Good advice. Any final thoughts on artificial intelligence and the nexus of law?
No, it'll be fun to watch. It will be interesting. I like that I'm in the middle of my career and not starting it or ending it with this going on. But it will be really fun to watch how it evolves over the next decade or so.
It's a Gen X thing.
That's right.
We're the bridge.
Right. Yep.
Well, thanks for joining me again.
Okay, thanks for having me again.